I can't believe it's 2024. In fact, I can't believe it's already March 2024.
Happy New Year!
I mean, it's supposed to be the new year, just came and went, and it's already closing in on Holy Week. How in the world did this happen? But anyway, here's another video that we should have done probably about 2 months ago, but better late than never. Here are some of our favorite bikes that we are looking forward to try out in 2024. And this is Behind the Desk.
Sports Center.
Okay, so I just want to point out that this is just basically free-for-all. There's just no particular order. These are just bikes that we named here in the office. We put it on the whiteboard, and here we are making a video for it. So the first on the list is a bike that I saw in EICMA. And you know what? I'm not one to ever go back to an X. When I say it's done, it's done. However, when I saw the XSR900 GP, I may have to rethink that. As a previous XSR900 owner, I love that bike. I absolutely love it. In fact, sometimes when I see one and a friend is using it, I'm gonna convince him or her that I wanna try it, give it a little bit of a go, just to be able to reminisce about the days when I was starting out riding big bikes. And when the new XSR900 came out, to tell you the truth, I wasn't in love with the looks. There was something about it that just didn't sit well with me, and I kinda wasn't super excited about it. And then the GP came out, and I saw it in EICMA up close and personal, and I absolutely fell in love with it once again. Before I actually was part of MotoDeal, before MotoDeal was even around, I used to write articles for a website. And one of the bikes that I tried out in the 2 articles that I did manage to write for that website was the Duke 390. And I remember this is very early in my riding journey. In fact, I was probably riding for maybe about close to a year at this point, and it was my perspective on how to ride a big bike. The 390, not exactly a big bike depending on where you are in the world, but here in the Philippines, it is highway legal. So, the new line of Dukes. Well, KTM, this is going to be a revamped roster for them in terms of how the Dukes look. From the ground up, they're building new bikes, and it's long overdue. These are bikes that should have been done maybe even 2 years ago, but they finally got to do it. So we are looking forward to all the new Dukes that are going to be coming out in the year 2024. So we are going to be going by the 390, the 990, and the 1390 Super Duke. Now, as polarizing as they may look, and I did see some of it, at least snippets of some of the Dukes over in EICMA, and yes, they are polarizing, trust me, but we are still extremely excited to see them and try them out firsthand here in the Philippines. Coming up next is a bike that it's already available here in the Philippines, but I have yet to try, and actually nobody in the team MotoDeal has been able to try it. Now, I first saw it again in EICMA over in Italy. Even though BMW didn't have a booth there, Touratech did, and one of the bikes that they dressed up was the 1300 GS. Now, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I think it actually looks better than the 1250s. I really do. And some people don't like it. Some people just say that it looks too much like a V-Strom or another Japanese motorcycle, but I think it looks good. And you know who else thinks it looks good as well? Charlie Borman. He was the guy that I was talking to in the Touratech booth, and he absolutely loves the 1300 GS. And if Charlie says so, it must be true. Now, the bike that won the People's Choice Award in the 2023 EICMA show over in Milan, Italy, was none other than the Ducati Hypermotard Mono. Now, this bike, when I saw it up close and personal in the metal, absolutely gorgeous. Again, this is a new engine for Ducati. I actually saw the engine on display as well, and I was staring at the engine for a good hour and just marveling at it and seeing how they were able to do it. And this is a bike that I'm extremely excited for. It is going to be coming to Philippine shores very soon. I am a little bit worried because the SP version of the Hypermotard from the previous generation is quite tall. Because of the height, it might be a little bit of an issue for the shorter riders out there or for the less experienced riders to ride this motorcycle. However, it is going to be something that Ducati is going to count on in the year 2024. And I do believe this is a bike that is going to do extremely well, especially for those who know what it is. the Super Quadromono is the most powerful single-cylinder engine in the market today. 77 horsepower. Think about that. And it's also a very light motorcycle. So imagine the mixture of the two, the weight of the bike and the power of the bike. Ducati. Coming up next is the Aprilia RS 457. Now, of course, we have yet to do an Aprilia on the MotoDeal YouTube channel. There are some articles on it on our website, but it is a bike that's going to be a lot more approachable for many people out there, especially for a sport bike, or a sporty bike, I should say. And it's something that I think will inspire a lot of newbies to start riding because it's a pretty bike. All Aprilias look good, and this bike is no exception as well. And it's more than just the looks because it's got the performance to boot. And because of that, it's an exciting segment for Aprilia because it's going to be introducing all these new riders to the brand that needs a little bit of a push here in the Philippines. Coming up next is the Royal Enfield Himalayan 452. Now, what I love about this bike, again, I saw it in Italy. It kind of looks like a baby BMW GS when you look at it. I mean, especially if you show it, if the colorway matches it. When you look at it from afar, it's like, is that a little bit of a, is that a baby GS? Well, it kind of does look like that. And the Himalayan, a very popular motorcycle here in the Philippines. Of course, it's a bike that you can take anywhere. I mean, this thing can take a beating and keep on ticking. I've taken the previous generation over in the Himalayas. We dropped it many times and it still managed to ride all the way to the very end. So this is a bike that is bulletproof and should do well here in the Philippines. Coming up next is the MV Austa LXP, and I tell you, this bike is pretty. But it's an MV Agusta, so all MV Agustas are pretty. But this is really the adventure motorcycle of MV Agusta. I mean, it does look like the Cagiva Elephant, and because that's what they patterned it after. In fact, Orioli, the special edition of the LXP, is something that's really, really special. I think they're only going to be coming out with 500 of these bikes worldwide, so it is very limited. In fact, when I was there for the launch, he signed the bike that was on display, and everybody went crazy because he was actually there during the launch. And if you look at the bike, it does kind of, I kind of saw the Lucky Strike logo on it because that's kind of what they patterned the bike after. It's a pretty bike, and I can't wait to try it. Coming up next is the Triumph Daytona 660. Now, this bike, some people will say that's just a Trident with some, little bit of add-ons here and there. Well, guess what? I do really like the Trident. And in fact, it was a bike that I absolutely fell in love with when I first tried it out. So, I can't wait to try out the sport bike version of said bike. And this is a bike that, again, is not too intimidating for many riders out there, especially for the ones who aren't as experienced. And imagine a sport bike version of a Trident. Yes, it's not exactly going to be what Daytonas have been known for through the years. But because I am a fan of the Trident, I'm sure I'll be a fan of the Daytona as well. Now, up next is a bike that, well, has a lot to live up to because this model is going to be replacing an iconic motorcycle. I'm talking about, of course, the BMW R90. Everybody in the Philippines at one point or another seemed like they owned an R90. And for the R1290 to replace the previous generation model, it's got really, really big shoes to fill. I mean, if it doesn't work out, at least the R90s are still going to be around. They're not going to make new ones, but at least you can probably buy some in the second-hand market. So the BMW R1290, I hope you are good. But the way, when you look at it, when I see it on the websites, it does look pretty special. But let's see how it rides. All right, coming up next is the Husqvarna Svartbilin and Vitbilin 801. Now, we've seen the 401s here in the Philippines for a couple of years now. Very unique styling on the motorcycle. I actually really like them because I think they're easy to ride and they're perfect for me for the city or short rides. Just for the coffee or breakfast rides a little bit outside of town. I think they're just right for that. So the 801s, the bigger version of that, I mean, we've been waiting for the 701s here for a long time. It never really arrived. So the 801s, it's about time, Husqvarna. We need them here in the Philippines, and we need them here maybe, well, about 2 years ago. So just imagine the performance of the 790 Duke wrapped in sexiness. Up next, after laying low for what seems like, well, an eternity, Moto GTI comes up with a new motorcycle that we just can't wait to get our hands on. We need to find out if Moto GTI can bring life back to its brand with this ADV. I'm really interested with this bike because it's got this V-twin that's transversely mounted, so it's kind of like this. And if you imagine the motorcycle is facing me, right? That's the front. So it's kind of like this. Usually V-twins are like this, that when you see them. But this, they made it so that it kind of looks like and feels a little bit like a baby boxer. And in all honesty, I have ridden some Moto GTIs before, and it felt like I was riding a baby R90. So let's see what happens with the Stelvio. Coming up next now, the reason why I keep on mentioning EICMA is because a lot of these bikes I saw there, and it kind of got me excited. Now, the bike that, when it was launched, maybe aside from one or two other brands that are based in Italy, this manufacturer drew maybe the third most biggest crowd in the entire EICMA 2023 when they announced the release of the 450 MT. And CF Moto, again, has gotten better and better through the years, in recent years, if I may add. And the MT series, or the 450s, have been really special. And the MT version of it, and actually by the time you're watching this video, we've probably done the launch already in other parts of the Philippines. So this is a bike that we anticipate would do extremely well here in the country. So well that the global launch of this motorcycle is going to be done here in the Philippines. Now, they only do this where the market has dictated why they are going to launch the bike in said country. Like, they launched the SR over in Turkey because they expected the bikes to do well over there. So they are launching the MT here in the Philippines. That is big news for CF Moto because they realized that the Philippines is a market that is growing in terms of adventure riding and for lower displacement motorcycles, such as the 450 of CF Moto. I would not be surprised if the CF Moto 450 MT will become the best-selling ADV here in the Philippines. All right, so we have two bikes left on the list, and well, this segment really didn't exist until, well, maybe about a year or 2 years ago. And it's really, what is it? Super sport touring? Hyper sport touring? I'm not too sure. But imagine an ADV or a touring motorcycle that you can take on the track. That's basically the next two bikes that we're going to mention right. So if you were to put out a sport bike and an ADV or touring machine, you put them in a room together, let them make sweet love with each other.
Ew.
These two bikes are probably what will come out. First up, the BMW M1000 XR. Now, we all know what the XR is. It's the tourer of BMW. It's kind of like, it's a bike that's meant for long distances. And then when you put the M in front, then you know it becomes something else. Then you know it becomes, wait a minute, is this for long distances or is this for the track? How about both? Why not? So I am really curious about this bike. Anything actually with the letter M in front, any kind of BMW machine with the M in front, I'm always curious about because that means it's got power. Last but not least, and I know I said no particular order, but this is, for me, the one that I can't wait to really try out because for me, this is the ultimate machine on this list. It is the Ducati Multistrada RS. Now, everybody thought the Pikes Peak was, well, the peak, was the apex of all of these motorcycles. And then Ducati said, I got something else for you. And then they came out with the RS. And I'm sure, actually I know for a fact, a lot of Pikes Peak owners were like, I can't believe I didn't wait for that one. Why did they release it after I purchased the Pikes Peak? Guess what, just buy both, buy another one. I mean, if you're able to buy a Pikes Peak, you probably have enough cash anyways to buy another motorcycle. So get the RS as well. Because this motorcycle, this RS, is not just a Panigale engine that is tuned differently. It's got the sport bike engine. This thing is I know it does look like an ADV, it does look like a sport tourer, but believe me, this thing is meant for the racetrack. And it's gonna perform better than most bikes out there. And if you thought the Pikes Peak was the pinnacle, no, this one is it, the RS, and I can't wait to try it. Just the way this bike looks, it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, yes, it does have the same, fairings as the Pikes Peak, but the colorway for me is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. I love it. I can't wait to try out the RS here in the Philippines. Now, the reason why I say that is because the Pikes Peak has about 180 horsepower. The RS, 192 horsepower. I mean, that's just crazy when you think about it. But leave it to Ducati to come up with something like this. So, does anybody want to buy a Ducati Multistrada V4, slightly used, not too bad? Jack, do you want to buy it?
No, I can't.
I need a down payment. I need.
Naka-Denali din.
It's got Denali lights and a horn. Yeah.
Bike seat.
Duca bike seat. It's got, it's decked out. Nobody? I need a down payment for the RS. All right, so there you have it. That's a list of our bikes that we are highly anticipating for the year 2024. Once again, I apologize that this list is very late because some of these bikes, some of you have probably tried them already, but we haven't tried any of these bikes as the making of this video. Now, for more information about these motorcycles under MT's out there, log on to www.motodeal.com.ph. My name is Gene Erfino, and this is Behind a Desk.